Welcome everyone to today's NEMSIS training. Today is July 9th, 2024. Welcome to the second half of the year. I will start posting how many Christmas days there are during these trainings after the next one, I think. And but today we have a wonderful presentation I'm very excited about. So the title of today's presentation is Navigating the NEMSIS Composition of Warehouse and State Submission Dashboards. And my colleagues Casey Gregor and John Britt have agreed to do this presentation today. So just to let you know that this presentation is going to be recorded, so it is posted to our YouTube channel and to the NEMSIS website so that you can review and reference this information, share with your colleagues. Uh, After those are posted, it usually only takes a day or so. Certainly by the end of the week, those videos will be up there. It is in a playlist so that you can go and review and see all of the NEMSIS trainings that we've had over the years. So let's see, we appreciate the time that you take with us today. If you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand or use the chat feature. We will organize everyone's questions and get them to the presenters in a moment where they can answer the question for you. And then there will be like a question and answer session. Also, we'll be asking for questions at the end of the presentation as well. So. Perfect. I think that's all the housekeeping that I need to take care of. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the time over to Casey. Casey, go ahead and get us started.
All right. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're at. So I'm going to cover with you all the current composition of the warehouse dashboard. And we'll play this video for you. So first we're going to go over the new companion guide for the warehouse, which is very nice to have. We did not have it before. So we'll go through the video here. So to find it, go to nemsis.org, view reports, state reports, go to the version 3 dashboards. And some of you all might already be familiar with this. So sorry if it's repetition for you. Scroll down to the V3 state current composition of the warehouse. Click on that and then click on companion document. And like I said, this is new. So you'll come to this page. You can navigate a couple different ways. You can use the table of contents highlighted text there, or just use your normal scrolling bars. Note that for the current composition of the warehouse, it updates weekly for the past roughly 365 days. The information contained in it is any submissions from your state to the repository. Any data that's 2017 or earlier, that's condensed into 1 year. Otherwise, every other year is individual. When you go to the dashboard, you'll see current composition, EMS agency activity, and EMS agencies without activations as some tabs to be able to click through to view the different information. In the current composition tab, you'll have a few filter options, field level software package, and that's going to be your EPCR software that your agencies are using. So that's not your repository software. Submitting state, which you're only going to see your state when you log in. You will not be able to see others. EMS agency. Agencies are identified by the state assigned agency ID number. You'll also have reference date, which is broken down into 2 different categories. So there's unit notified by dispatch and then submission date. So submission date is whenever the NEMSIS repository receives the records from you, whereas unit notified by dispatch date is when that call activation happened or when that record was created. And so sometimes that can create some weird discrepancies in numbers if you're looking at the difference in them. Because let's say you have records from March that were submitted in May, it'll show submitted in May, but it will show that those records under unit notified by dispatch are March records. You can also use the date range slider to narrow down a specific time period. And there's a couple different options for that. We'll go over a little more once we get into the dashboard. All right, let's speed this up just a little bit here. Okay. Oops. And then you have a few different navigations as you go through as well. Sorry. So EMS agency activity tab, you have submitting state, D agency 01, which is that agency ID number. Again, reference date in your date slider. Agencies without activations tab, you're only going to see submitting state as an option, which again, it's only your state, and it will display any agencies that are associated with your state for the last 365 days that show 0 records submitted. And that can be for various reasons. Many of you probably would know better than I do why you have agencies that aren't submitting records anymore. All right, and then also the Tableau toolbar, which will be at the bottom of the dashboard. And that's got a few different buttons for it to navigate various things, different selection options. And the toolbar looks like that. So you're gonna have the different buttons are the undo my last action. So it'll just undo any changes you made. Redo last action, obviously reinstates those changes. You have reset view, so it'll reset to the original view when you first log in. There's also refresh data in this view. So if there's an update, data came in that during the time you're viewing, it'll refresh that. Very unlikely that'll ever happen. There's also a pause and resume auto update. So when you're viewing something, you can just hit pause so it's not updating while you're trying to view those records, those numbers. And then resume obviously resumes that auto update. Again, not something that's probably ever going to be an issue while you're using it, but something to know about. There's accelerate view, which currently is not active, and I will kind of show you that again when we get into the dashboard. And then view original, which is a save customization. So you can go in and create different custom views, save them, and that'll be in there. And again, we'll go into that in more detail. And then to the farther right of that, on the end of that toolbar, you're going to have a few other options. So there's keep track of updates, which is labeled as watch. And you can set different notifications. You have choose a format to download. So if you want to download the data, you can do so as an image, in data, crosstab, PDF, or PowerPoint. Some of those options depend on which dashboard you're viewing. And that allows you to download the data in the different ways. There's see full screen, which obviously expands this to your full screen, and then click out of that, and then share, which allows you to share that dashboard with another Tableau user, or you can create a link to share via email or something of that sort if you so choose. And then the rest of this goes into kind of more of the meat and potatoes of those different views or customizations that I was talking about, and I'll show these in better detail once we are in the dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and pause there real quick. Does anybody have any questions on that so far? Okay. All right, so now we're going to go into accessing the dashboard. Some of you may have already been experienced in doing so. Some of you might be kind of new to this. So again, go to nemsis.org. You're going to go to view reports, state reports, V3 dashboards, and then scroll down toward the bottom of the page. You'll click on V3 state current composition of the warehouse. All right, and it's going to bring you to this view. And you'll click on sign into Tableau server. You're not going to be able to access this if you do not have a Tableau user account. And only those with user accounts, authorized accounts, will be able to access this. So I'm going to pause here real quick just to explain that sudden jump that you saw. So being mindful of what data we're sharing in this video. If I would have logged in under mine, it would have shown everything. So obviously I can't do that. We've been granted permission from the great state of North Carolina to use them as our example in this. Thank you. So when you log in to your dashboard, you will see only your state. It will be displayed similar to this. And there's your various filters. EMS agency, you have the option, you can click all, you can unclick and only select which ones you want to view. Unit notified by dispatch or submission date, you'll notice there's a change in the numbers when you do that. Most of the time when we're contacting you all with discrepancies we're seeing, we're looking at unit notified by dispatch. That's usually our most up-to-date and accurate numbers. There's the slider, so you can either use the slider keys or you can enter in manual dates or enter in dates manually, apologies, to get a more precise time frame that you're looking at. And here I'll show an example of that. When you do so, you do have to enter in your 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year. And then you see a slight change there. Change the starting date. I'm just narrowing this down for simplicity purposes here. And so now you can see that it's showing only the 1 year, which might be helpful. However, you can also expand this out. If you highlight that year, click on the little plus button, and it will expand it first into by quarter, and highlight again, plus button, and then by year, or I'm sorry, month. And then again, it'll go down to the day. Now, something you'll see here, as I scroll through, you can see the little pop-up screen there with the day and the number of submissions. When you're looking at it just like this, there's a bunch of symbols and it looks really weird, and that's simply because the data can't be displayed in the small frames that are there. If you went to download the data, it would download correctly though. All right. And then our next one should be EM. Yeah. So then you can minus that out as well. And that'll break it back down to month and then quarter and then year as well. If it ever seems like it's not working, make sure you see that highlight before you try to bring up that plus or minus button. For your state, you can also highlight your state, hit the plus, and then it'll break down all the agencies listed under your state as well. Okay. Any questions on that so far? All right. Quiet room today. So EMS agency activity. So this is gonna, again, only gonna be your state that's viewable. And then I'll bring up all the agencies that have submitted records within the last 365 days. And then here, as you can see, you can break it down the same way as in the current composition view. You can select your date ranges, change into a quarter or month. And then you can also do you can sort if you want to by alphabetical or data source order. And maybe isn't going to be terribly relevant when you're looking through the data, but something that you can do, it's an option. And note for the filter bars, you have submitting state, D agency 01, which again is going to be that state assigned ID number for that agency. And then you can change your reference date, unit notified by dispatch, or submission date. So there's those. Okay, and then here is EMS agencies without activations. So the only option for filter is your state. And then it's going to display whatever agencies that are associated with your state that do not have any submissions within the last 365 days. So sometimes that list can be a little longer depending on location, and sometimes it's quite short like we see here. Right. And then moving on, oops. So we'll move on to toolbars. So I just did that so we can show what's going on there. So I expanded to month. So I did undo last action. So now you can see it went back to quarter. And then scroll down to the toolbar again, click redo last action. And now it's got it back to breakdown by month. And then if we scroll down, so next to that is that reset view. So what that'll do is reset your dashboard view to whatever it was when you first logged in. So again, I'm not going to just demonstrate that here today, simply because it would take me back to everybody's data, and we don't want to do that. So just note so if your first view is all your years, all your agencies, etc., that's what will show up. Okay. And then next to that is the refresh data in this view. So if we click on that, we'll scroll back up. So nothing changed because there's nothing to refresh right now, but you get that little notification box that the data has been refreshed in this view. And then again, pause and resume auto updates. There's not going to be any changes to that right now. So that's more for demonstration purposes at this time. This is that accelerate view. So if you click on it, you get that warning that can't accelerate view at the moment. It's just not an active feature that we're currently using. The view original, so that's where you can set your custom views. So you can see I already had created one, and then we'll just kind of quickly go through and create another one. We'll call it, I think this one is supposed to be NC monthly submissions. You can click on the make it my default, and that'll be your default view whenever you log in. So whatever view you're in, when you make that customization and you click save, that's the view that's going to be saved. That is your custom view. You can do many different ones. And then to manage those, if you want to delete them, change the name, what have you, click on that icon again, go to manage views. And then you have your customization titles there. You can either edit and change the name, you can delete, and then that little icon to the right with the little I and slash just shows that it's a private view, so it's not viewable by anybody else except you. So when you go, if you do delete them, we're just kind of showing that process. Click on the trash can, click delete. And then we'll exit out of this here. As you can see, it was being a little stubborn. All right, so then we'll go to watch. So when you click on these icons over here, for whatever reason, it throws you back up to the top of the page. So you're gonna have to scroll down. So this is your subscriptions. So you can do this view, you can do your entire workbook, whichever you choose. You can click, so if you do have whatever view, you can click do not send if view is empty. So if there's no data to send, it won't send you any notification. In the subject, you can put whatever you want. And then for message, you can add a message, you don't have to. It's all up to what you're looking for. So you have frequency and schedule. So if you have on selected schedule, go down to schedule, and then you can choose when that notification sends out. Or you can change frequency to when data refreshes, and as soon as that dashboard refreshes, it will send you a notification. And then you just click subscribe and it'll start that. And then you can also set some different alerts and metrics if you so choose. I think most value is probably the subscriptions, however. And then moving on from that, is the data, select data format. So again, if you click on this, it's going to send you back to the top of the page. And there you can see your options. So there's image, data, crosstab, PDF, and PowerPoint. Some of these might be a little different depending on what your credentials are, and or what dashboard you're viewing. We typically use either image or crosstab the most, kind of depending on what we want to display. If you do click on crosstab, it'll bring up another window. You can choose either Excel or CSV. Choose whichever one you want, click download, and then it'll download and open as it's supposed to. So you can do full screen. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you do go into full screen, just hit escape to get out of it and it'll go back to this screen. And then you also have a share option. So if you wanted to share this dashboard with somebody, you can either someone who is also a Tableau user, type in their username, or it'll create that link for you. So just copy link, add it into whatever it is that you want to add that into. So that is going to be mostly up to whatever your state allows. And that pretty much wraps up the current composition dashboard. So do we have any questions about those? I'm going to stop sharing here. Everyone feels like they are an expert now, correct? All right. Well, John, I think I will pass it on to you then for the next phase of this education.
Thank you, Casey. So, since it's pretty obvious, Casey just did the warehouse. So I am going to talk about the state data submission dashboard. But before we do that, we should probably do a review. So to get us all awake again and moving, we're going to do what everybody's most favorite thing, a Kahoot. So the easiest way to join it is to use your phone. That way you can keep the screen. Welcome to EMS Data Submission Dashboard. We're going to dive into the EMS Data Submission Dashboard and understand the key terms and processes that are involved with the dashboard. So you should be seeing a poll on your screen. So looks like the majority of people are somewhat familiar with EMS data submission. That's good. Maybe we'll learn something then. So the first question is a first quiz question. What is a schematron warning? Is it a data validation error, a fatal error message, a submission error, or a non-fatal warning message? Those of you who picked non-fatal warning message, you're correct. Very silly hawk, you're in the lead. So what are schematron warnings? Schematron's warnings are the non-fatal messages indicating issues in the data pattern. So something just wasn't right. One of the puzzle pieces was off in the PCR, but it wasn't anything major. It didn't cause a fatal error. It was just a warning. So what are the bane of John Britt's existence with NEMSIS? What missing file causes the most record failures? Typically because they're missing. You're right, demographic files are DIM files. Silly Hawk, you're still ahead. EMS agency demographic files can be accepted or rejected based on data accuracy and are often the cause of failures, typically because they're missing. What is submission lag? Report generation time, data validation time, submission error, or time difference in submission. Everybody got it right. Exactly. It's the time difference between when the call happens and when we get it. Silly Hawk, you're still in the lead. Followed closely by Lovely Bobcat. Submission lag is the time difference between the EMS unit back in service, E times 13, and the submission time to the NEMSIS web server. It's measured in days, with quartile, or well, we'll get to that in a minute, but 50% being the median value. Oh, and I gave it away. Forgot that was the next question. Everybody should get this right if you were listening to me. Yeah, everybody's listening. What is a submission error? This is a double points question. The error causes rejection, a warning message, submission delay, or a data validation error. You're right, it's an error that causes a rejection. Oop, shining hair, taking the lead. Submission errors are fatal errors that result in submission rejection. Typically a missing DIM file or an XML error. What is a submission type? This is in reference to the dashboard itself. The dashboard refers to a submission type. And if you don't know, always go with the one that has the most words. Correct. It's the schema that's used to validate the report. Counting here is back of the lead. Submissions can be categorized as EMS or demographic, based on the schema used for validation. And you'll see it when I show you the actual dashboard. When you're seeing an error, if it's a demographic or it's based on something in the chart PCR itself. So which two terms, this is you have to select two, which two terms determine a unique EMS agency? So it is submitting state and agency number. Those two things have to match for NEMSIS to be able to accept the record and understand who it's coming from. Shining hair, doing great. True or false? PCRs can be resubmitted. Yeah. Of course. And the winner, shining hair. Second place, Giving Wallaby, and third, Royal Kitten. I love the terms that, or the nicknames that Kahoot makes for people. So that's the fun part's over with. Now it's me. So we'll start. What's the purpose of the state submission dashboard? It basically is designed for EMS state data managers to have data that they can use to determine the status and quality of the data that's being collected and submitted to NEMSIS. We're only reporting on the national subset. So that's the national elements. Where can you find the dashboard? Well, I'll show you. So when you go to the NEMSIS homepage, go to State Reports, Version 3 Dashboards. Scroll all the way down to the very, very bottom. There you'll see the companion guide and the submission dashboard itself, and a really old training video. And you click on that, and then through the magic of video, I have skipped the Tableau login process. You will be dumped into the landing page for the data submission dashboard. So what's included in the dashboard? What data sets and the inclusion criteria are there? Well, there's 5 linked data sets. There's the submission status, the agency demographics, patient care reports that have been accepted and rejected, and then the schematron rule violations. So the inclusion criteria define the minimum characteristics a record has to have in it to be included in our data set. If you really, really want to know what that inclusion criteria is, I'm going to share the link to the data set guides in chat in just a minute. There are 3 detailed topic areas and 2 summary areas or summary views in the actual dashboard. All views can be subscribed to, and it is highly suggested that all data managers subscribe to the email summary view, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. So the 3 detailed views: submission, accepted PCR, and EMS agency. So the first one, the submission detail view, it provides additional actionable information to the data manager beyond that contained in the summary view. There's a submission summary table that provides the key statistics on submissions to the TAC. 2 types of submissions are supported by the web service: EMS agency demographic information and patient care reports. Both types of submissions are included in the submission summary table. So this has got both DEM file and PCR submissions. The submission accepted versus rejected bar chart, which is this, displays the trend over time of the share of total submissions that are accounted for by submissions accepted and submissions rejected. So it's hard to see, but if you zoom in, the little red, there are little red ones right there. My pointer went away. At the bottom, those reds are rejected. Now I'm looking at the national submission for all states, so it's very little. But if you see, you will only see your state in this view. I should have mentioned that earlier. So if you're seeing failures, that'll be they'll show up there. You see them there. And then at the bottom of this page, you can see why you're having the failures, what are causing the submission errors. So as we were saying, there's the rejection message, the schema version, and the submission type. So this is either going to be patient care report or a demographic error. And you can see what it's showing you here is that, and also I'll show you this in a video at the end also. You sometimes have to scroll over to the right. But if I did that for this picture, then you couldn't read the stuff on the left. And I felt like the stuff on the left was more important. So the rejection message for the first line is schema version 3.5. And it's because of a fatal schematron rule violation. So that's a PCR violation. And the second one failed because of an XML validation that had to do with a demographic file. And then the rest of them failed in import because of a missing different demographic file. Some were version 3.4, majority were version 3.5. So if you're a state data manager, and you're seeing failing records, this is what you want to look at to see what's causing the failures. And it gives you a little bit of information to start the hunt to be able to fix things. The next detailed view is the accepted PCR detailed view. So this, and I have redacted some stuff on this so that yours will not have a big square there that's gray. Yours will actually show you information. So we'll start from the top. The goal of the accepted PCR detail view is to provide the EMS manager or vendors with additional details on the sources of non-fatal unique schematron warning messages per PCR for patient care reports that have been submitted and accepted by the NEMSIS TAC. So you can filter it at the top. There's 4 options: software package, software version, agency number, and submission date range. Only changes to the data range filter affect the data available in all 4 views. So if you change the date range, it updates all 4 views. Otherwise, they don't all update. The software package, software version, and EMS agency filters only affect the data available on the PCR's accepted dashboard view. Right there. And of course, there's a package filter. The software package filter allows representatives to restrict what's being shown to specific vendors. And then you can even go even farther to restrict it down to specific versions of vendor products. And then at the bottom, you can see the warnings by schematron pattern. So typical E-situation in this case was the #1 warning nationwide for this time period. And then it went down from there. And then you can see who, for your state, which vendors have the highest failure rates, not failure rates, error rates per PCR. So this would mean if this is vendor ABC, that means their average error rate is 4.2 errors per PCR for this time period. And then the last detail view is the EMS agency detail. The goal of this is to provide the state manager with additional detail on the activity of EMS agencies within their state that have had their demographic information submitted to and accepted by the TAC. There's only one filtering option, and that's a date range filter. I have grayed out there. I have a state view. You will only see your state data. I also grayed out. You will have agency numbers there and there. You'll only show your state there and with the agency numbers there. So the agency summary, this provides key statistics on agency demographics information. So it's only going to show statistics on agencies that have more than 0 accepted files. If they didn't submit any files at all, they will not be on this report. You have active EMS agencies per day. That's the number. How many accepted PCRs by EMS agency, and EMS agencies with demographic information accepted, and EMS agency demographic submissions by home state. So that's this at the bottom. If your state, when you're looking at it, has not had any demographic submissions, you're not going to see anything. This will just be blank. So I'm looking at a national view, so it shows me all of the states. If your state has has had demographic file updates. So this state actually had 3. And I tried to zoom it in enough so you can't tell what state it is, but you probably could if you looked up. But this is what your view will look like right there. I'm not sure the value of that, but that's what it is. So there's 2 summary views, submission summary and email summary. And I'm finishing up. The submission summary is just a combined and summarized view of the previous 3 detail reports: submission detail, accepted PCR details, and agency details. It's a little bit more condensed, with basically just the key information shown. And again, this would be for your state. Which brings me to the email summary, which is probably the quickest overview of how your state is performing for this period. Hopefully everyone is subscribed to this report and you get it every Tuesday. It runs every week and is updated for the past 2 weeks. It's usually a week old, give or take, with the past 2 weeks of information in it. If you have not subscribed to this and you are an EMS State Data Manager, you should really consider doing that. And I'm going to show you how to do it in the next slide. So start to finish, let's look at how you actually use the state data submission dashboard. Again, you already know how to go there. It's under View Reports, State Reports, Version 3 Dashboards. Very end, State Data Submission Dashboard. There's the email summary again. Again, this is for the nation, but you'll see your state. A quick scroll through the detail views, 2 of them. Yeah, I'll show you how to move it over. But now it cuts off the left side. And this is how to download that information as a crosstab so that you can find, well, so that you can easily figure out the agencies that have missing DIM files or other XML errors. We'll look at the EMS agency detail. These are all of the PCRs accepted by agency and missing DIM files by agency. Then we'll go to submission summary, which is again just a combined and view of all of the 3 detail views. And this is the accepted PCR detail view. And then takes us back to the email summary. This is what I wanted to show. If you've not done this, please take a minute to do it. Casey showed this as well. Go to watch and scroll back down. Subscriptions. Frequency to when it refreshes, which will be every Tuesday. You can change the subject if you want. I just leave it as blank. And you see that green check, you've got a subscription and you're good to go, and you'll get them starting the next week. And in a nutshell, that's the V3 State Data Submission Dashboard. Any questions? Yeah, Monet put a note in the meeting chat. You'll need a NEMSIS Okta account to access the Tableau dashboards. The accounts are granted to state EMS data managers and directors or NEMSIS compliant software vendors. If you need to reset your Okta user account, please use the password link located in the footer on the NEMSIS website. If you need to reactivate your account or need one, please complete the form here. And she even put a link in the chat. Thank you, Monet. I appreciate that. I did skip over the Okta authorization part because it's just pretty slow and I didn't want to waste time. But yeah, you would have to Okta identify to get into either of these dashboards, the warehouse or the state data submission. Are there any other questions? Comments? Anyone with their hand up? If not, that's all I have. Casey, did you have anything else? If not, we can turn it back over to you, Chris.
Perfect.
Nope, that's all I had also.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey and John, for very informative information here. Hope everybody takes advantage of the opportunities there to subscribe to a couple of these dashboards, and that some of these spark some ideas to help improve your processes and help out with your data. Thanks again to our presenters. Sure appreciate it. And thank you for coming out today and participating in the training. We do these trainings once a month. Generally, it will be on the first Tuesday of every month. If you want to be informed about events like this, and also for the V3 implementation calls and other important events that go on with the NEMSIS team, you can subscribe to our listserv by going to the NEMSIS website, nemsis.org, and in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a big red button that says subscribe. You can fill out your information there, and then you will start getting the emails from us about this and other information. And then you can also subscribe to us on social media. So you can get to the social media for us on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. And so that is everything. Oh, this video will also be, this meeting was recorded, and it will also be available on the NEMSIS website and on the NEMSIS YouTube channel, which is another social media website where you can subscribe and see these events as they come along. I believe that's everything. Thank you so much again for hanging out today and grabbing this information. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.